I had like a lot of debt. Don't just go giving your credit card out to anyone. Hello and thank you for clicking on this video. I feel really nervous and a little bit apprehensive, and that's because it feels quite personal, talking about finances and money and stuff like that. But I've wanted to do this video for quite a long time, basically to help other people. I've made a lot of money mistakes in the past and I have definitely learned from them now, but it took me a really long time to realise that I'd developed some really bad habits. So I made the decision to basically start a journey to become debt free. Now I am almost there. I have about 3 months left until I'm completely debt free, but I wanted to do a video now because I've actually figured out how much I paid in the last 12 months. I've actually been able to pay £6,500 off in the last 12 months, which when I think about it like that, just honestly feels crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the steps of basically how you can get out of debt, and then I'll obviously share my little bits of my story along the way. I am going to do a separate video on how I got into debt because I feel like it's really important to identify exactly how you get in that position, and maybe someone might go, oh, that kind of sounds like me, so then you can stop yourself in your tracks before you get to the point that I got to, where it was just getting a bit out of hand. So I am just going to go through all the steps and give you everything that you need to pay your debt off. So my first step, advice, like must do this. Like, do not start trying to plan paying your debt off until you do this, and that is being honest with yourself and other people. Now this is a really daunting thing actually when you do it, or it seems really daunting until you've done it. You might be like, I know how much debt I've got, but if you've got multiple accounts, like, do you? Have you been burying your head in the sand? Because I did that for quite a while. I kept it as like a dirty little secret from the people around me, and that was because I was embarrassed really, and also just basically felt like I would get shouted at of my parents or the people around me, and they would just be really disappointed. But in actual fact, debt is a really common thing, unfortunately. By debt, I don't just mean mortgages, I mean consumer debt, so credit cards, shopping accounts, stuff like that. I used to avoid looking at my overdraft, at my credit card balance. Like, I just wouldn't open the app because I would think if I can't see it, then it's not real. And I know that there are people out there exactly like me because all the stories and the videos that I've read on it, everybody did the same thing. So that's the first thing. And I would say if you do have someone in your life who you really trust, and just let them know what you're planning on doing, how much you've got. I did this with my boyfriend and I felt like a weight had been lifted. Well, they say a problem shared is a problem solved, and I did feel so much better once I just got it off my chest and was like, look, I've done some bad things, I've too much online shopping and I've got myself into a pickle. Please just do that. So the next step is to get organised. Now you can do this on paper or you can do it on a spreadsheet. I used to do it on paper when I first started, but I switched over to a spreadsheet just because I found it easier. If you don't have a Microsoft package, you can use Google Doc, and there's free access to Microsoft Excel. So I just set up a spreadsheet, and I will be putting a spreadsheet template down below. I will put a spreadsheet template down below, and the first thing you're going to want to do is write out all the debts, all the amounts, the names of the accounts. So if you've got a credit card, you'd write your credit card name and how much you've got on that. If you've got a shopping account, if you owe money to Klarna, if you have overdrafts, like whatever it is, however you're in debt, whether you've got a loan, just have them on separate lines, and you'll have the name and then you'll have the amount. So this is just going to give you a little bit more of a better idea of what you've got, and also a full total balance of the debt that you have. I did find it a little bit daunting when I first did this right in the beginning of my journey, because I had like a lot of debt in the very beginning. In the last 12 months I managed to pay £6,500 off, but I actually have been paying this off for a few years now, so it was a lot more than that. So yeah, you just want to get all your debts down and just have them out in the open so you can see them. And we're going to use this spreadsheet every month. Like, this should be something that you come back to regularly, not just monthly but weekly. We're going to plan ahead with this spreadsheet. We're going to manage our income, our outgoings on this spreadsheet. There's a lot of information on it, but it's so simple to use. There's a lot of formulas set up on it so that it can basically do all the hard work for you. You don't need to do it. So once you've got all your debts down, you need to figure out the kind of method that you're going to use to pay your debt off. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there are a couple of popular methods which people use to pay off their debts. So one of the most popular methods is the snowball method, and that is actually what I use to pay off my debt. The snowball method in a nutshell is basically starting off with your smallest debt and working your way up to the big one. So obviously it's a snowball effect. Once you paid off one, you can take the money that you was paying on that one and add it onto the next one, and so on and so on. And then the other popular method is the avalanche method. So this one is basically where you take the debt with the highest interest and you focus on that one until you get it down. Now there are definitely pros and cons to both of these. Obviously someone might say the snowball debt, well, this debt has got a lot higher interest and I'm just letting it sit there, and that's the last one if I did the snowball debt. But the snowball debt definitely suited me because it made things feel a little bit less daunting. I could focus on, say, my £200 overdraft, and it didn't feel as scary as the credit card with thousands of pounds on. So it just depends on your mindset and how you want to view it. As I said, there are pros and cons to both. I'll see if I can pop some resources down below to tell you a little bit more in depth about them. People have obviously been successful with both methods, so it just depends on your personality and the way that you actually do things. So like I said, I popped a link down below, but for me personally, I did the snowball method. I really needed some kind of small achievements along the way and to be able to see a little bit of actual progress in paying off my debt really quickly. I think if I would have started off with the bigger one, I would have just felt like it was really daunting and overwhelming. So I started off on my first one with a small overdraft that I had was £100, and I just felt like, okay, it's only £100, I can cope with this, it's okay. And then with the snowball method, once you paid off the £100 one, any money that you were paying off that, and also including any fees. So say for example, you had a £100 overdraft that you was in every month and it was costing you £15 a month in fees. If you were paying this off at a rate of £50 a month, let's say, and the fees were £15 a month. So let's for example say that's £65 a month that you're paying out towards that overdraft. Once you paid it off, don't just take the £50 a month that you were paying off it and move it on to the next one. You need to be paying £65. This is going to help you pay your debt off quicker, and it really does make a difference as well. So now you've chosen the method that you're going to do, you're nice and organised, you've got a little bit of a rough plan in place, but now you need to set a goal. So for me, I actually wanted to pay off around £8,000 in 12 months, and that was the goal that I set myself. I did fall just short of that, but I would say that £1,500 off my target isn't actually that bad, considering I still paid £6,500 off of my debt. Set yourself a little bit of a goal, and obviously you're going to need to figure out what you can afford to pay, but set a goal first. Just get it out there. You'll have a rough idea of how much money you have spare and each month and stuff like that, but just get some kind of figure in mind. It might be all of your debt. So say you only have £2,000 worth of debt, then set the goal for £2,000 and a little bit of a rough time frame you want to get it done in. So now what we're going to do is we need to create a monthly budget. So this really helped me since I started doing this, and the way that I do this is I have a page for my monthly outgoings. Right at the top line I have a section for my income and how much I'm getting paid each month, so that just goes on the top line, and then after that I write down all of my bills. So this will be things like rent payments or mortgage payments or car payments. Then you've got things like your phone bill, gas, electric, water, petrol, just basically all these outgoings that are consistent. So some of them will be fixed amounts, some of them will vary each month, but do your best to get the best guess you can in on this spreadsheet. I've just done a little bit of a dummy spreadsheet to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Don't feel like it's very appropriate to share my actual income and outgoings on YouTube. So obviously I've got on the top line my income, and then underneath that I've got all of my outgoings. Now then I've got a little section that cuts off and there's a total at the bottom. The total at the bottom is what I've got left after everything that comes out of my account, so bills. Now in the bills, don't include anything such as food, eating out, clothes, holidays, Christmas. That's not what that top section is for. Underneath, this is where you're going to do your planning for that kind of stuff. Now, I probably could have hit my £8,000 goal if I would have stopped going out for meals, buying clothes and gifts and stuff like that, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that person for 12 months or however long that stopped eating out, stopped enjoying life. I wanted both, basically. I just knew that I had to rein it in a little bit, so I stopped buying so many clothes. I tried to rein it in on my makeup, and then I also just tried to eat out like no more than once a week. I limited my nights out and how much I would spend on them. When I would go, I'd set like a little bit of a budget for the night to make sure I didn't go too much over. So obviously in this section, you're going to have things that are to be expected. Like I always factor in my budget things like my trips to the hairdressers, my Christmas presents, birthday presents, money towards holidays. But I would say if you are really wanting to be serious about your debt, you really need to do your best to keep this column as little as possible. Now for me, I keep my debts in the actual bills section because I do see them as bills every month that's actually got to go out. I know that there are minimum payments and stuff like that, which is really tempting to do, but you really need to be sticking to the amounts that you put towards that. The reason why we're going to fill in the debt bit afterwards is a lot of people would say allocate money to your debt first, then spend what you've got left. But for me, I really found that ended up making me get more in debt, because I would go, right, I'm going to pay £500 off this month, and then I would forget that I had 3 birthdays, a night out, and then I'd end up spending more back on my credit card again. So say for example you have £500 left after your bill, and that's what you got left for food, going out, eating out and stuff like that, then you need to make sure that you're going to use that wisely. So I'm not going to tell you how much you should live off each week. Everyone will be different. I usually give myself about £50 to £70. Now you need to just figure out what you're willing to live off. How many meals are you willing to give yourself? How much amount for clothes are you willing to give yourself? Maybe you can do kind of alternative months where one month you have a really low spending one, and the next month you're a little bit more relaxed and you can spend more. If you want to live really frugally for a few months to get it done, then fair play to you, like you're a better person than I am. But I would just say, just be honest with yourself. What can you actually want to live off and still be happy, and what you want to get paid off your debt. So once you've figured out that little bit of a budget, then you've kind of got an idea of what you've got left over, and you can start allocating it to your debt. So I actually have a separate page that has all of my debts on. It's got the titles across the top. So for example, credit card, car payment, and then underneath is the amount that I plan to pay off every month. And I just find it so much easier to see it like this, because you can actually see like the end in sight. So for example, because I did the snowball method, I started off with the smallest one and it went all the way down to the biggest one, which was my car payments. So literally on my sheet it went like this, which is what you'd expect from the snowball method. Once I'd paid one off, I'd highlight it in green and move on to the next one. Obviously you're still going to have to be paying minimum payments on things like credit cards and car payments, but any spare money you're going to want to allocate to the smallest debt. Each column you'll have the amounts that you plan to pay off each month, and you'll be able to see roughly the month that you're going to pay it off. Now the next thing is, once you've made a budget, stick to it. Obviously things come up in emergencies. I'd suggest having a little bit of an emergency fund set up, even if it's a couple of £100, if you have things like a car or a home where things can go wrong, just so it doesn't eat into your actual debt busting plan. I quite often in the beginning of my journey would say, right, okay, I'm going to pay off £500 this month, and then I would look and go, oh, but I'd really like to go on this night out, or I really want that bag, so I would reduce my payments. Once you've done it, stick to it. And now the most important thing that you need to remember: don't get in more debt whilst you're trying to pay off debt. I used to do this. I would be like, I'm paying £500 a month off my credit card this month, and then I would put £150 back on. So my suggestions: either cut up your card if you feel like you can go without it. I actually gave one of my credit cards to my boyfriend and said, keep that unless it's an absolute emergency, unless my car's on its last legs, don't give it back to me. So you obviously again will need someone that you trust to be able to do that. Don't just go giving your credit card out to anyone. And the third one, unlink Apple Pay. Is used to pay everywhere. It's so easy. If you've got a credit card on there, all you have to do is your Face ID and you can spend on it. It doesn't even feel like you're doing anything wrong, because you just pretend basically that you're not doing it. So I did all of these things that I've just spoken about. I had my spreadsheet, I stuck to a plan, I tightened my spending a little bit, but not enough where I basically felt like I wasn't having any fun in life, and I made sure that once I set a plan, I stuck to it. And I will be doing another video a little bit more about how I got into debt. I just wanted to share with you the tips that I found really helped me pay off £6,500 in 12 months. Still feels crazy to say it, and I can't believe that in a couple of months time I will literally be debt free, apart from my car payments. I eventually would like to have no debt and just own a car outright. So all this has really helped with my credit rating. My credit rating was literally in the poor, and now I'm at the the bigger end of good and I'm nearly an excellent. So, and that's just in the space of 12 months. That's how I did that. I will do another updated video once I've paid everything off, and I'll give you the grand total, and I'll probably even share some more specific figures with you as well once I've paid it all off. All of the links and resources and stuff that I've mentioned will be in the description box down below. If you do have any questions or you want any advice, please feel free to send me a message on Instagram. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you here again soon. Bye.
Let me feel your love again, 'cause I've been running round in circles screaming out your name.